Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to this particular series of UNCCLA on a very, very, very interesting and very important subject, which is going to be discussed today. Ladies and gentlemen, you'll excuse me. You might find that I have some bit of challenge in terms of sound. I'm right now in Kigali, Rwanda, as president of Radio Maria, Uganda. So I've just excused myself out. And you may have some bit of interference in the background for the moment, but just bear with me, at least for the moment. Today we are talking about a very important subject of homosexuality. It has been on our WhatsApp, on social media for the past 1.5 months, 2 months. It is a subject of very special importance. Oh my Lord. It is a subject of special importance because it is touching our faith. It is touching our morals. It is touching our cultures. It is touching our cultural values. But above all, it is touching the future of our nation, the future of mankind, the future of our dear nation. It has penetrated in schools. It has penetrated every area you may think about. And right now, what we are going through is people are taking it as if it is normal, natural, and a right. Today, we are having Dr. Sandra Nabacwa, who is going to be our presenter tonight. Dr. Sandra Nabacwa Dr. Sandra Nabacwa is a public health specialist. She's a director of Uganda Matters Pro-Life Apostolate, which operates in Kampala Archdiocese. She has been giving talks and interacting with the youth in post-primary education, institutions, and parish youths on pro-life topics like chastity, abortion, and life skills. She has given talks on marriage, preparation classes of married couples. She is a regular presenter on pro-life program for the pro-life program on Radio Maria every Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon. She's a trainer and provider of natural family planning and several other related issues. Welcome, Dr. Sandra Nabacwa, for the presentation. Once again, I apologize. I'm attending a Marian conference, and hence the sound in the background. Welcome, Dr. Nabacwa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Matega, and good evening to you all. I request the host to display the slides, please. Host. So, dear participants, as we wait for the host to share the slides. I welcome you so much for this very important meeting. Okay, thank you very much. And the theme of the meeting is our role in dealing with the increasing challenge of homosexuality. That's what I was asked to present, and Mr. Matega has already told us, given us some background. But before we go into the topic, we need to understand some meanings of some words, because probably we've been hearing LGBT. Maybe some people have not heard it before. So we want to define the terms so that we know what we are talking about. So in LGBT, L stands for lesbian, and a lesbian is a woman who is sexually or romantically attracted exclusively to other women. So I think we have heard that, a woman who is attracted exclusively to other women. Then gay, these are sexually or romantically attracted exclusively to people of one's own sex or gender. But the word gay is used especially of a man. So men who are sexually attracted to other men are sometimes called homosexuals and sometimes called gay. Then we have the bisexual. Next slide, please. We have the bisexual. These are sexually or romantically attracted to both men and women, or to more than one sex or gender. So it means these ones can also be attracted to transgender people, or to men, women, and we know that a number of married people are also by gender, as in they are homosexuals but married to women, and then maybe sleeping with men at the same time. Then we have transgender. This term denotes people or relate to a person whose gender identity does not correspond with the sex registered for them at birth. For example, I could be, I was born a girl, then I grow up and I say, but deep down inside me, I feel I am a man. So then I say, I am a trans man, you know, I just look like a woman, but I'm a man, which is all very strange and very unfortunate. So we have the flag, that is the LGBT pride flag, the rainbow. Some people don't know about this rainbow. Usually it has 6 colors, denoting that, you know, as if they are rebelling, that you can't say that we are divided between male and female only, but we can be anything in between. And sometimes you find people putting on this flag not knowing that it is a pride flag. For them, they think it is a nice dress because it really looks nice, or it's a nice design on your shoe. But when the LGBT community sees you, they think that you're part of them, that you're homosexual or lesbian or something like that, or at least you're very proud of them. And they use it usually when they have their pride marches, as they call them, certain months of the year. So we are going to delve into homosexuality because it is what I was exclusively asked to talk about. So we need, before we learn more, we need to know the facts. Homosexual behavior is widely related to environmental factors. So when we find homosexuals, we find that many times we'll discover that it is behavior, it is a learned behavior influenced by the environment that people have grown up into. And the other fact is there is no proven biological or genetic predisposition to homosexuality. Gay people tried to forge some research, trying to say that there is a gene, but they failed to prove a research to be proved scientifically. It has to, other people have to do the same research and find the same results. So no one else managed to prove that there is a gene. So it is not proven scientifically that people are born that way. There is no gene that denotes you or denotes one as a homosexual. So it means that homosexuals are made, they are not born that way. The environment may deviate them from the norm. Homosexuality is mainly a learned response to early painful experiences and can be unlearned. Because it is learned, then it can be unlearned. Next slide, please. Homosexuality is a behavior. It is not a condition. It is a behavior and something that some people can change, just like they sometimes change other tastes and personality traits. For many, it is a response to an inner pain. You have suffered something and you respond by behaving the way you behave. As we are going to see, I'm going to explain what I mean by this. We need to appreciate the evolution of homosexuality. Next slide, please. Before, everyone knew that this was a very deviant behavior. And actually, in some cultures, they would even stone homosexuals to death because of the vice, to get rid of the vice. And it is a vice that has been there forever, even from Genesis. It has always been there, even in our culture. In Uganda, it was there, at least the time of King Mwanga, we had something like that. It has been there. And then the homosexuals or the gay community started making demands. And the demands from the gay community have progressed from simple tolerance, because at first they were like, at least don't kill us, just tolerate us, this is how we are. Then after they are, no, accept us as we are, because you can tolerate something, but you're not really accepting. Then they went into accept us, and then people kept giving in, and then they started demanding for the right to marry, the right to, now they are demanding the right to adopt children. And now at this space, they are silencing any opposition as homophobic. So when you say, but homosexuality is not normal, you're homophobic, you need to be gotten rid of or punished because of that. So those who once insisted on tolerance for their lifestyle will now tolerate no disagreement. Society now requires everyone's approval of what not long ago was regarded as morally very, very wrong. So this is where we are, and of course in being promoted in countries like ours. So we need to appreciate about something about the predisposing factors. And before I go into the predisposing factors, we need to appreciate that there are some people who have what we call same-sex attraction. When they look at people of their sex, they feel romantically attracted to them. And we want to see what causes that, because we've already seen it is not a genetic predisposition. They are not born that way. There is no gene that makes you, identifies you as gay or homosexual. But what are some of the experiences these people go through which change them psychologically and make them feel they have same-sex attraction? One is absent parents, like an absent father. When there is an absent father, the child keeps longing. This boy may keep longing to have a father. And because of that, they are so attracted to males because they are looking for this father that they've never had, or the father's love. Or it could be a mother, a girl who has not grown up with a mother and really longs to be loved by a woman, because we are created in such a way that we are balanced when we receive our father's love, a father who is a male, and a mother's love, a mother who is a female, because these days we can't take it for granted that mothers are female and fathers are male. Then others, if they have a father or a mother who is too tough, then they tend to dislike that gender because they think that gender is too tough. So if I grew up with a father who is extremely tough, and then I'm like, men are like that, better for me to get married to a fellow woman, or too possessive, and I feel like I need to free myself from this possessiveness. And so I tend to reject that gender which is too possessive or too domineering. Or I may have a detached or rejecting parent. My father maybe rejected me as a child, and I've been longing for this love. Or a parent who has preference for a particular sex. I see at home we're all girls, and my parents can tend to show that they regret having had only girls. And then from childhood, I'm like, I wish I were a boy. My parents would have loved me more. Or we have one boy in the family, and they seem to show so much love to this one or one girl. Then I'm like, I wish I was also like so and so, because he's loved more because he's the only boy or she's the only girl. And then slowly this translates and grows into same-sex attraction. The other predisposing factor is domestic violence. When I grow up in a home where there's a lot of domestic violence, then either I identify myself with a strong party. If my father always beat my mother, then I'm like, I don't want to be a woman. As a girl, I'm like, I don't want to be a woman. When you're a woman, they beat you up. I'm a man, and I'm going to relate with a fellow man. Or they end up being transgender. It's a very complex thing that happens in the young mind of a child as they grow up. It's important to note that in 71% of homosexual cases, the most important factor was the father's detachedness or non-participation in the son's upbringing. And it is very sad to note that in Uganda, about 40% of fathers are absent in the child's upbringing. So this is brewing a lot of homosexuality. So this is a breeding ground. So homosexuals would know, and they will go for these children, and these children will be easily attracted to homosexuality because they are looking and longing for a father's love. And truly, even the ones we have received in pro-life, you find that majority of them do not live with their fathers. So it is a very important thing for us to know, even as we forge our way forward. Then the other predisposing factor is abuse in childhood. If somebody was defiled, for example, a girl having been defiled by a man would reject men so much because of the wound that they have acquired from this abuse. And because of that, she'll say, me, I love only women if they've not got counseling and received healing from this abuse. Then also boys being sexually abused or sodomized as children, which also is being used as a way of recruiting boys into homosexuality. They will tend to grow up and feel, maybe I'm like that, maybe it's even worse if they've been sodomized by more than one man. Then they are like, I think I'm like this, I'm supposed to be like this, me, I was created like this, and things like that. A large national survey of almost 35,000 Americans showed that more than 3 times as many men and women who had been sexually abused as children became homosexuals versus that of heterosexuals. So the risk is 3 times higher for someone to become homosexual if they're abused as children. Another study, next slide, please. Another study reported that 58% of male adolescents who later became homosexuals suffered sexual abuse as children, while 90% who did not suffer sexual abuse identified themselves as heterosexuals. So the difference is very, very high and significant. In addition, 43% of male homosexuals reported sexual activity with another male during the ages of 10 to 12. So when these boys are initiated at a young age, preteen, they will tend to grow up and become homosexuals. And this is what we are seeing in schools, that they are trying to recruit children in primary school, because I think they've read these studies and they know if you recruit them at a young age, when they grow up, they will indeed start identifying themselves as homosexuals. We want to see the role of pornography. Next slide. Pornography is everywhere. Pornography is a danger that we talk about a lot in our pro-life sensitizations, because it is destroying families and communities in a way that is very, very appalling. So a study showed that gay and bisexual men have reported viewing significantly more sexually explicit media than heterosexual men. There is evidence that viewing greater amounts of sexually explicit media may result in more negative body attitude and negative affect. We'll discover, we know, that most homosexuals have a very, very low self-esteem and a negative body image. And even transgender people have a negative body image. And that's why they prefer to be someone different. And there's a study that Mr. Stephen Langer did. And in that study, there were also stories of young people who were addicted to porn. And you'd find a few of them saying they started watching porn like when they were 14, 13, they got addicted to porn. Then they started being promiscuous. And in the end, they started getting attracted to people of their sex, because they also get into homosexual porn, and then they want to experiment, and then they get hooked. And somehow when you get into homosexual behavior, there's a way you get addicted to the behavior. And it takes a lot of time and commitment to get out of this addiction. Then how are other people going into porn, apart from these ones that have suffered some kind of trauma in their childhood? There's peer influence. There's one homosexual boy that I handled, and I was asking him, how did he start? And he said when he was in P7, he told his classmate that he's wondering how it feels like for a boy to sleep with a girl. Then the boy said, you come and I show you how it feels like. Then the boy sodomized him and sodomized him again and again. And before he knew it, he also started sodomizing others in primary school. So this is a kind of peer influence. You just see and you want to experiment, experimentation, curiosity. We know young people love experimentation. Then the big one now that is invading our society is the love for money, because these groups have the money. So they'll use the money to recruit. These boys that they are recruiting, and the girls, by the way, because they are also girls who have sugar mummies, they may not have attraction to the same sex, but they are doing it purely for money. Then, of course, another problem is ignorance of effects. So these people are going into the vice just for money. There's somebody who needs to mute their microphone. So the ignorance of the effects leads them to just go into the vice, and then afterwards they suffer the consequences. Then we have this problem of recruiting. I'm sure that the people I'm talking to, most of them know a lot, probably more than me. But I'm the one who has been given the privilege to share. How are our children being recruited into homosexuality? In schools, there is a push for comprehensive sexuality education. And there are books that are being sneaked here and there into schools, into libraries, into bookstores. And many times they're even given out free of charge. And these children, and they are even age appropriate in quotes, as in they draw the pictures for the young ones and they are showing them. There are many types of families. There's for male and female, female and female, male and male. It is the, and there are some teachers who have been paid to recruit and to sneak in this comprehensive sexuality education. So it is very, very important for parents to be very, very keen to make sure their children are not exposed to this. Then through peers, there are students in schools who have been recruited by homosexual organizations, and they are being paid a monthly salary or a lot of money. By the way, you may find a 17-year-old getting a monthly pay of 5 million. I don't know to use for what. So, and the more you recruit, the more money you receive. And also you may be asked to have to participate in pornographic videos, and you're paid, like one of them shared that they were paid 5 million every time they acted a movie. Then we have agents in schools, unfortunately sometimes staffs, who are paid a lot of money to recruit our children into homosexuality. These agents sometimes are students, sometimes are staff members. Then the recruiting also happens in our homes. Our own relatives, we have to be careful every time we send our children to visit.
Dr. Sandra, you could please continue.
Dr. Sandra, please continue.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. I somehow went off, but sorry about that interruption. I was still telling you about the recruiting relatives. We have to be careful when our children are uncomfortable visiting a certain relative. We should take it serious and ask why. Then we have house helps, house girls, house boys doing the same. Even girls, house girls can recruit your children into lesbianism, or they can use them for their sexual desires at a very young age. I've had some, even you find your 5-year-old is no longer happy, and you say, but I leave her alone at home with the house girl. But what is the house girl doing when you're away? Then neighborhoods, we've had many being recruited by other boys they are playing with in the neighborhood. Then agents can sneak into the neighborhoods. Workplaces, you find at work, a certain person of your sex is inviting you to their home. I've had a story of someone who, there's a man, this person is a man, there's a man at their workplace who kept inviting him to go home and visit. And one time he went to visit, and the guy almost raped him, and he was in shock. So there are agents in the neighborhoods, and these agents sometimes go to our houseboys or our house girls to recruit our own children, or they go through a particular house girl to recruit other house girls, or a houseboy to recruit other houseboys and get men, etc., because they are given money. And then as I've had some organizations, you see all the time, they organize functions for only women. And when they are there, the way they are enticing you, that it's better for you to say woman, women empowerment, extreme feminism. But in the end, somehow they are leaned towards encouraging you to be lesbians. Then there are some church leaders and agents, and also some of these agents can come for a function. Maybe we have a seminar for young people, then they come for the seminar, and they are very active participants in that seminar. And after they give out cards to people who have come to attend the seminar, inviting them for another seminar somewhere, and when they go to the other seminar, it is recruiting them into homosexuality. And of course, some people come to our villages and their neighborhoods saying that they are going to help pay school fees for our children, but when in reality they are going to recruit them. And when they take them for that training or orientation, that we are orienting these boys, for us we help boys, or for us we help vulnerable boys, because everyone is looking at the girl child, and then they say those ones who want to receive to be helped, please come. Then you go, and then they tell them about homosexuality, and they tell them, if you tell your parents, will kill you. If you want to be helped, come again next seminar. If you don't want, don't tell anyone, we are dangerous, we can kill you. So your children will not tell you, and maybe you're pushing them, I don't have money, you need to be educated. If there are people who want to help you, you go and get help. Meanwhile, you're pushing your children in danger. These are some of, next slide, these are some of the books that are there to deviate our young ones and teaching them about LGBT. Then we have, of course, media influence, the main media, social media, Facebook, and others. Like, went to a certain school, and there's this boy who told me he was crying. He was in S1, 13-year-old, that somebody asked for a friend request on Facebook and he accepted, but this man kept sending him pornographic materials. So he was very, very confused and didn't know what to do. And this had taken some good time. So it's very important for parents to be very keen and know what is happening when your children are on Facebook or other social media channels. Then there's exposure through cartoons. Be very careful, the cartoons that your children are watching. It's very important for you to first watch it before you give it to the child. Then soap operas, teenage movies. I take time to actually watch teenage movies since I work a lot with young people, and I have seen that almost all of them will have a gay couple or more than one gay or lesbian couple, so that when children keep watching, they keep thinking that this is okay, we can continue watching.
See you.
Okay, sorry about that interruption. So we have to be very keen, because our children are being deviated. And there are TV programs during the day when parents are at work or late in the night, where they bring up these people just to show them that, there are other people like you fighting for their rights here and there. And of course, there are some media houses which have been corrupted and paid to promote this. And also there are illegal websites that our children access and learn homosexual behavior, and many other ways. But these are, I think, they are the main ways in which people are being recruited or somehow end up in homosexual behavior. Then signs of, what are some of the signs that you could see as a parent that may lead you into homosexuality, which we call pre-homosexuality signs? If you see that you have a child who has a recurring desire to be, or an insistence that they are the opposite sex, you have your boy, he keeps saying, I wish I was a girl, I wish I was a girl, I'm a girl. Then for some of them, I say, I'm a girl, me, I'm a girl, I'm a girl. And they encourage you to dress like that, and you also play along. There's something that you nurturing, or it's your girl always, me, I always have to have trousers, me, cut my hair short. And they are kind of showing signs that they are not comfortable with who they are. Then if you have children with affinity to cross dress, always your child should never want a dress, just a skirt. You don't just play along. don't just play along. You are nurturing something. It is you to help your child to say, no, for us women, we put on maybe skirts, you look very nice in your dress, turn around, rotate, something like that. You keep encouraging them so that they accept who they are. Then if you have a child who has strong persistent preference for cross-sexual roles, I've underlined these words, strong and persistent, because there's some degree that is acceptable. For example, you have your girl, from time immemorial for her, she loves drama, but she always acts as a boy or a man. Never ever acts as a girl, never. If sometimes they act as a boy and then sometimes as a girl, that's fine. But it's persistent, it is strong, and they'll even fight for it. Me, I have to be a man. I have to be the boy in all plays. Or never plays, this is my boy. He never ever plays boys sports. Always girls sports, still carrying dolls. I don't know, dodgeball. Always playing girl things. But if they play both sides, that's fine. So let us not exaggerate also. We have to be careful not to exaggerate and confuse our children. It's okay. Sometimes your girl can act as a boy, and sometimes as a girl, that's fine. Or sometimes they play football and then sometimes they're carrying their dolls. That's okay. But if it's exclusive, then we need to be concerned. Then excessive closeness to pairs of the same sex, especially teens and teens. Sometimes you can feel, okay, I have girlfriends. I even as a girl, I always had girlfriends. This intimacy is going out of hand. Or boyfriends if I'm a man, but this is kind of suspicious. Maybe it's the time for you to kind of act and try to find out what is happening. What is happening? Is it okay or not? Then, if your child has strong preference for friends of the opposite sex, very strong preference. I'm a girl, all my friends are boys. Is this child soon going to tell you they are transgender? That for me, deep down, I feel I'm a boy, you see, then I dress like a boy, all my friends are boys, I get along only with boys, exclusive. If it's not exclusive, then it's fine. But if it's almost exclusive, then you should get a bit concerned and start helping this child say, no, but it's okay to have both boys and girl friends, something like that. Help them. Then sudden changes in behavior. You see your girl now is bouncing, the way she's talking, trying to force even a deep voice, the way she dresses always like a boy, or your boy, the way he's walking and dressing in a funny way, growing hair in a girlish way, then don't just say, no, those are teenagers, it's okay. Better for you to be more keen and try to dig deep and see if you need to act or if you need a counselor to assess for you. Not that it may not be the case, but you may need somebody else to help you understand what is going on. And if your teenager is being so secretive and too much sudden demand for privacy, teenagers always demand for privacy, but if it's too much, then you become suspicious. You may check in their room and you find lubricants. They are being used, they are homosexuals. It's very important to note that not all children and youth with such behaviors are homosexuals. So don't just conclude, just be keen, be more keen. We want to go briefly through the teaching of the church on homosexuality to appreciate. In the catechism, it is clear that God created man in his own image, male and female, he created them. He blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God, male and female, not male and male, not female and female. And for the purpose of being fruitful and to multiply. Catechism, paragraph 2.3. Next slide, please. Paragraph 2.3.3.5 says that each of the two sexes is an image of the power and tenderness of God with equal dignity, though in a different way. Equal dignity, but in a different way. So if a child knows that we are equal, even if my dad is always beating up my mom, but before God, we are equal in dignity, but in a different way. A man as a man, and as a woman as a woman. And the union of man and woman in marriage is a way of imitating in flesh the Creator's generosity and ability ability to reproduce. So the Bible in Genesis says, therefore, a man leaves his father and his mother and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. Not a man lives to cleave to his husband. So all human generations proceed from this union. So there's a purpose, there's a reason why God created male and female. This is the next slide is just a breather. When you're dating these days, you have, when you see a woman, you have to ask, so have you always been a woman? Because probably they are transgender and they became a woman a few months or a few years before you met them. So Catechism paragraph 2357 clearly states that homosexuality homosexuality refers to relations between men and between women who experience an exclusive or predominant sexual attraction towards persons of the same sex, as we have seen, basing itself on sacred scripture, which presents homosexual acts as an act of grave depravity. So it deprives this couple of something that is important. So the tradition of the Catholic Church has always declared that homosexual acts are intrinsically disordered. They are disordered in themselves because even you're using the different body parts for the wrong purpose. So if you're using them from the wrong purpose, then already it is intrinsically disordered. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life, which is meant, the sexual act is meant for the gift of life. So when we have the sexual act, you should be open to life. They do not proceed from a genuine affective and sexual complementarity. So the church is very clear that under no circumstances can they be ever approved by the church. So there's no hope that the church one day is going to say homosexual relationships or so-called marriages are okay. They are not okay because they are intrinsically disordered. Next slide. Then, according to the compendium of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, homosexual acts are grave sins against chastity, and they are expressions of the vice of lust. And indeed, the homosexuals usually have very many relationships with very many people. I read somewhere that a homosexual can even sleep with 9 men on the same night. So it's really a vice of lust. Homosexual acts are included among the grave sins against chastity in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Then paragraph 2358 also states that same-sex attraction is objectively disordered, but constitutes for most of them a trial because you feel you're out of place. What you're experiencing is not normal. So because of that, and because of what we've seen, that it is many times a result of some kind of woundedness, it should be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity, but not promoting and saying it is good. It is always grave sin. But when we see these men or these women who are struggling with same-sex attraction, by the way, the attraction is not a sin, it is a temptation. But if you go on and act on it, then you have done a grave sin. So every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. These persons are called to fulfill God's will in their lives, and if they are Christians, to unite the sacrifice of the Lord's cross and the difficulties they may encounter from their condition. So they are all called to live chastity. All of us are called to live chastity. Then the Catechism also talks a bit about transgender, that everyone, man and woman, should acknowledge and accept his sexual identity. So it is not good for, these are things that we should help our children to know as part of their faith. So physical, moral, and spiritual difference and complementarity are oriented towards the goods of marriage and the flourishing of family life. So if you're transgender, it means you're going to destroy your fertility if you're to change your gender. Then we have Bible quotes. I may not go through all of them because of time, but we know that. Then Leviticus, do not have sexual relations with a man as one does with a woman. That is detestable. Then we know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Then we can read Romans 1:26. I'm on the next. Host muted me. Okay, I think that was accidental. So Romans 1:26, we see it says, because of this, God gave them power to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust. Men committed shameful acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for error. So this is condemned by the Bible. Also 1 Corinthians 6:9, Jude, all these are condemning homosexual behaviors. I'm on the next slide, post. So what do? We've seen the church condemns the practice of homosexuality, but not the people, but the acts. And the Bible, not the acts. So I see there's a lot of panic. When you panic, you make many mistakes. I've had some parents saying, oh, they'd rather call me to the school because my child is coupling with somebody of the opposite sex, but not because they are going with a homosexual. So as if we are almost encouraging our children to have premarital sex when they're adolescents, just so that they don't end up being homosexual. So when you panic, you can make many mistakes. Let us not panic. Let us think rationally. First of all, it is important for us to understand that this is a spiritual battle. This is the enemy wanting to destroy the church. So we need to take time to pray. The greatest tragedy of life is not unanswered prayer, but unoffered prayer. Let us all go on our knees and pray against this vice. And then God will also help us to fight it, but in a spiritual manner. Then we need to educate ourselves and to educate our children. Knowledge has power. It controls access to opportunity and advancement. So let us be knowledgeable. Today we have learned a lot. This is helpful. Then how can we educate our children? What do? We needed like many years ago. So this is a matter of urgency because the enemy is trying so much to bring the wrong sexuality education into our schools, and some schools have already adopted this. So we need a Christian-oriented sexuality education program to be produced as a matter of urgency and taken into our schools. Uganda Episcopal Conference or Uganda Joint Christian Council should take the lead. In fact, we had a meeting like in 2018 about it. I don't know how far they've gone, but we should push for this as a matter of urgency so that our children know from nursery that family is one man, one woman, plus or minus children, but one man, one woman. Then we need to include the issues of concern like homosexuality, abortion, transgender, all these things in catechism classes at all levels in a child-friendly manner as children prepare to receive Holy Communion, confirmation, solemn profession. If we could include these pertinent issues and we train catechists to give this information in age-appropriate manner, that would be very good. We have Sunday schools. If in Sunday schools we keep chipping in these things, I'm a girl. Girls grow when the girls grow, they become women. When boys grow, they become men. A man marries a woman, not vice versa. Things like that. Life begins in the womb. Even in the womb, there's a baby. In Sunday school, encourage parish holiday programs. for youth, preteens, teenagers, and older youth, so that we help them understand. We need pro-life teachings and clubs in all our schools so that they help young people to learn these things, because the enemy is so active. So we need to even be more active. We should go fast. We should be there before, so that when the lies come, the children already know the truth and they know that it's also a matter of faith. Then we need to educate parents. Next slide. We need to include parenting classes in marriage preparation classes so that parents know how to address these issues, sexuality issues, to their children at the right time and in the right way. Do we need mentorship program for men? Men are so absent in bringing up their children. We need them. We need the men's guild. We need it to be more active. Men on this forum now today, can we sit and plan something so that children don't feel that their fathers are so lost and so detached, so that men know that when I impregnate a woman, I have some responsibility to take. Then addressing this problem of domestic violence more aggressively, and then finding ways to really reduce single parenting, because it is a hub which the homosexuals are using to recruit our children who are already missing their fathers or their other parent. Then we need to speak out in truth. Gavin said, far greater than the threat of evil is the silence of good people. The enemy is speaking loud and clear everywhere, literally everywhere, and good people are crying in silence. How unfortunate. Next slide. Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, the late Pope Benedict XVI, said, departure from the church teaching or silence about it in an effort to provide pastoral care is neither caring nor pastoral. Only what is true can ultimately be pastoral.
Homosexuality.
To neglect the church teaching prevents men and women with same-sex attraction from receiving the support they need and deserve. So when we speak out, then these people realize that there's a problem and they need help, and we provide the help. So we need to really speak out. So lay church leaders, lay church leaders need to speak out at any given opportunity. Every time you have to address the congregation, please say something about life, about family in the right way. Then church leaders, priests, bishops, religious, during homilies, sermons, other gatherings, please speak out. We need the message to come out very clear. Young people, the more young people hear a message repeated, the more it sinks. So if it is the opposite message that they hear repeated, it is the one that is sinking. So we need the correct message to be repeated so many times so that young people get the point. So we need to create also proper reporting channels that abused children may find comfortable using in schools, in neighborhoods, in churches. Supposing they're being abused by the teacher, where can they report? In the neighborhood, I don't know, LC system, in the churches, if they're being abused by the church leaders, where do they report? How safe is that reporting channel for the children to be encouraged to use it? We need to produce and circulate IEC materials. I'm happy I've seen some schools have put up posters strongly condemning homosexual acts so that children learn that this is wrong. Then we need to bombard the media avenues as much as possible, teaching young people the right thing, not only condemning the wrong thing. Let us most of the time teach them the right thing, rather than coming also you be advertising the others when you're always going abusing or quarreling or I don't know, condemning them. Let us be more positive with information. When a man marries a woman, when one man marries one woman, something like that, and they stay together so that they learn from childhood that it's good that one man marries one woman and they stay together for life. So we need to be on the mainstream media. We need to support organizations that promote life and family. The people who support the wrong things are heavily funded. The people who support the right things don't have money. They are volunteers, but when you're a volunteer and you don't have money, there's a limit to which you can work. So if we could support these organizations so that they can move out widely and fast, then if we could involve the cultural and political leaders and encourage them to speak out so that people hear the message loud and clear. Please do no harm. Don't go killing people because they are homosexual. Do not go, don't do mob justice on these people. Hypocrites said, make a habit of two things, to help or at least to do no harm. Let us help these people so that they appreciate that it is wrong to be, to act in a homosexual way. We need to involve police, prevent mob justice, ensure just laws are in place, but they shouldn't involve killing. For us as Catholics, we don't believe in death penalty, so we are not going to promote death penalty, but appropriate laws, especially for these people who are recruiting our children into homosexuality. It is wrong. They're abusing our children sexually, and they should be punished, but not killed. So we need to believe teachers, because teachers complain when they tell parents that your child is homosexual, parents deny. And when they deny, then their children are not helped. So believe the teachers, seek professional help, address issue in its early ages, especially if you become suspicious. And then as I come to, I'm soon ending the presentation, a message to people who are struggling with same-sex attraction because of childhood traumas. Saint Jose Maria Escriva said, the struggle is the sign of holiness. A saint is a sinner that keeps trying. So if you feel I am struggling with same-sex attraction, but I am choosing not to act on it, then this is your sign of holiness. Please don't act. Please don't abuse other people of the same sex. Don't use children. Keep trying. And then in the end, you're the saint of today. And then also, the church calls us to chastity. In Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 2348, all the baptized are called to chastity. The Christian has put on Christ, the model of all chastity. All Christ faithful are called to lead a chaste life in keeping with their particular states of life. If I'm married, when I get attracted to somebody who is not my spouse, I am called to have to control myself so that I stick to my spouse. If I'm called to live celibacy, I also control myself and remain celibate. If I feel attracted to people of my sex, I am still called to do the same. Self-mastery, self-control. At the moment of his baptism, the Christian is pledged to lead his affective life in chastity. So with Christ by your side, you can make it. I want to appeal because I know when people who are, when pro-life speaks, always in that group, there are people who are advocating for homosexuality. So I'm sure that among the participants, there are people who advocate for homosexuality. There are people who are recruiting children into homosexuality. I'm appealing to you to spare our children, spare our society. Do not just copy things because people of developed world are sending you to destroy yourself. I've not talked about the effects because of time. The effects of homosexuality are grave. People are suffering the effects of homosexuality seriously. So please, I am appealing to you to spare our children, to convert, to choose what is right, because in the end, you're not only destroying others, you're destroying yourself as well. And I want to conclude by letting you know, as the Uganda Matters Pro-Life Apostolate, we have organized a pro-life prayer day on 18th March, Saturday, 18th March. It's going to be at Uganda Matters Shrine to pray to the Lord that we may choose life and choose family. And our theme is male and female. He created them. Our main celebrant that day is going to be the Archbishop of Kampala, His Grace Archbishop Paul Semogerere, and we're going to have a guest speaker, Honorable Lucy Akelo, who is the chairperson of Uganda Pro-Life Parliamentary Caucus. This lady is doing a lot in Parliament. We really appreciate her efforts to make sure that life and family are protected in this country. It is 7, and I've come to the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening in, and I hand over to the host.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandra. Thank you very much. Using our, you need a hand of applause. Thank you very, very much, Doctor. Ladies and gentlemen, the subject of discussion today is quite very large. And if I'm to make a quick analysis, this is simply part 1 of the would-be presentation. Dr. Sandra has given us just opening all the introductory aspects of what concerns this subject, which is disturbing every one of us. The next series is going to be even more practical. Show us how the recruitments are done within the schools. We believe we shall have got some witnesses, people who have been victims, if I'm to use the word, and they have come out of the habit and are helping us also to fight the habit or this vice. As Dr. Sandra has said, even within this particular participants, there are people who are pro the vice because they are everywhere to know what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a battle for everyone. We are supposed to be closing at 7, but I'm giving you an extra 15 minutes for any people who want to make some quick comments. If a remark has been done, leave another one to give his comment. We are going to send out the slides to the different emails you have given us. So right now, I request Madam Emily to moderate this aspect concerning anybody who wants to put questions or remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice President UNCCLA, Mr. Matega. Ladies and gentlemen, I can see someone froggy. I hope that is not one of the head teachers I know, whose hand is up. Froggy, please, can you unmute and ask your question or make your comment?
Good evening. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are.
First of all, I would like to thank the doctor for the elaborate discussion regarding this contentious issue of homosexuality and briefly dissecting it into the nitty-gritties that we all need to know. My question to you is that we all know that there are people who have been encouraged to enter this act, and we also know that there are people who have come out. So what strategies are there so that you put these people back in community? For all we know, culture dictates otherwise. So once these people come out and they detest now that they are no longer homosexuals, how do you take them back into their communities to accept them? And how sure are people back in their communities that these people are not going to recruit? And secondly, what strategies do you have in place to work with human rights organizations? Because we've had rumors that some human rights organizations are promoting this. Are there campaigns that you're planning to encourage each of them to see what they do and what activities that can tie into your activities so that we fight this activity all together at once? And thirdly, are there other strategies? Are there other international partners that you are working with? Because speaking, and all we know that some people say this is something that has been imported into our culture, but it has been revealed that it has been there since Genesis. So are there some strategies that you're going to bring some international muscle on board? Because we can't say that this thing is going to go away today or tomorrow. And
Thank
some
you very
people
much.
Okay,
Yes,
I beg to
thank
submit.
you very much, Froggy, because we really have quite a number of people that would like to submit. 3 questions have been presented to Doctor. She'll answer. Maggie, please make your question or comment.
What's the plan of this? Well, geometry. So we're.
Maggie.
So this is this, is it? This is what.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
So 3 trees.
Can we have Maggie unmute and please make your presentation or question? Okay, Maggie is not here. Can we have Robert Semudu unmute, please?
Yeah,
Robert,
amen.
yes, please.
I'm here. Thank you, Doctor, and all the organizers of such a great, I call it a great event and a great initiative. Thank you for the sensitization. But my main concern is that we've been living with this thing for quite a long period of time. In a certain group, I have been hearing lots of testimonies. People say it is like a big fish for donors to bring in more money here in Uganda, and the people who are behind it are great people in our country. I don't know what is the way forward. Everyone are going to be taking the message, because I think many people fall victim of this vice because they are not sensitized and they don't know what is really happening. But I want to say thank you for this initiative, because I also had a clue about what is happening, but I am informed now. Otherwise, thank you. May God bless you. I'm Robert.
Thank you very much, Robert. And I think now Monica can come through. Monica, please.
So, hello, good evening, everyone.
Yes, good evening, Monica. We can hear you.
Okay, so mine was just a comment and appreciation. Thank you, Dr. Sandra, for that. Mine was just to encourage all of us to be ambassadors of the message, as you've realized that a lot has happened, and silence and ignorance are part of what are going to destroy our children. So we need to really pick up the mission. And the mission is to support as much as we can, starting from our homes. The mission is to teach the truth. And that means we have to still do more research about this, and then in a non-judgmental way. Because once, like Mother Teresa says, once we judge, we fail to love. So it's a sin, yes, but we all fall short and sin. Sometimes we act like it is now the worst of the sins, but in a non-judgmental way, we need to support, because there are some people who are just victims of sodomization. Some are lured into it. So that is really a lot of work for us as church. And then to correct some of the untruths, like I've seen in the chat, somebody says that, like the Pope's message, the recent one, which was published in the papers, even young people, that day I was giving a message to young people, and then they said, the Catholic Church is the cause, even see their Pope. And then I said, my friend, that was just media selling. So all of us are really called to this mission. And for me, as somebody who meets them in the counseling room, there are two cancers, the homosexuality and the drug. I think the drug issue is even higher than the homosexuality at this moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Monica. Can I also invite Sister Monica finally to make her submission?
Yes, thank you so much. Mine is a concern, maybe a question also. I understand some of these, they are very powerful financially, and they have strategized. So how is pro-life really also financially stable, that is going to work, and with all the rest of us, that we shall manage to convince back these people who have been financed? You know, someone is paid and someone is okay, because some are disparate and they are just taken over from their disparities. So how are we going to manage this? It's a matter of knowing and having the finances. I don't know. Are we set?
Okay, thank you very much, sister, for that concern. Dr. Sandra, back to you. Could you please make responses?
Thank you very much for these questions. The first question of putting them back into communities. First of all, our appeal to you, dear parents, in case they send your child away from school that they are homosexual, please do not send them away from home. These are your children. Take them for help. They need help, they need guidance, they are young. Then for the older ones, maybe the ones who recruit, anyone who is young surely should not be, I don't know, thrown out of community. Even as pro-life, we help people to come out of this act, and there are other professionals. You have to just get the right professional. By the way, you might misfire, and they just encourage your child to continue in the vice. So we do counseling, but so when somebody says, how sure can we be that they are not going to recruit? It's just like sometimes we get thieves on the village and they are in prison. Some come back and they don't steal, others come back and they start from where they stopped. So we cannot have that assurance, but continued support. These people need continued support. You don't just say they stopped, bye-bye. They need continued support. Then the human rights NGOs, of course, human rights is a catchy word, and some of them feel everyone has their right to do whatever they are doing. But we have what we call Life and Family Network Uganda, where we work with pro-life groups from different religious denominations and even just simply pro-life NGOs together. And together, we have compiled a list of NGOs which are promoting homosexual and other rights, like abortion rights, etc. And sometimes we take them, our leaders take them to the responsible political leaders to see how they can address the issue of these human rights NGOs, to see that they are not promoting things that are not culturally acceptable in our country. Are there other international partners in this struggle? Yes, surely there are. And we have even a pro-life, pro-family Africa. We have pro-life, pro-family international. So there are many pro-life groups around the world who are involved in this struggle. And in fact, they are giving us a lot of information from abroad, how homosexuals are working to recruit and how they have helped to tame this practice, and helping us, especially because it's still a young practice here, so that we can vehemently fight against it. And of course, through teaching and enlightening people, it's one of the main things. Then the big fish for donors, especially those who are working in HIV units. You see, if you don't have homosexuals, your funding is even reduced. So you get more funding, the more homosexuals you recruit. So this is a way that they are enticing would be good service providers. It's okay to treat homosexuals. We don't want them to die of HIV. We don't want to deny them healthcare or any other services just because they are homosexual. It is not right. But we also don't want to elevate them above everyone else. You're homosexual, so when you come for treatment, you should be given treatment before everyone else. That is not fair. We treat them just like everyone else. When they have malaria, you give them the same treatment for malaria. But this thing of elevating them and showing that for you, you're much more important than others is not right. All of us should be ambassadors. This is always our call as pro-life. Asking us, will you pro-life, what have you done, is not right, especially if you are baptized Christian and you're listening. You are an ambassador. You are the one to fight. So we should be very aggressive, all of us, and all of us together, we can fight this vice. And then important to note is that we have seen in the presentation the teaching of the Catholic Church, and the Pope has never said he has changed the teaching of the Catholic Church. So that's why I dwelled most on the teaching of the Catholic Church, because it has not changed. and the Pope is also in line with the teaching of the church. So let us not deviate because of something that came up in the media. At least the media has not said the Pope changed. So how is Pro-Life financially able to fight, Sister Monica? Mainly we have volunteers, very little funding, but the will to work is there, and we keep praying and hoping and looking for donors so that we can move more aggressively, because of course without funds you're very limited. So but we are, at least the will is keeping us going, and we thank UNCCLA so much for such an opportunity for us to spread this message to so many people who are listening in. Thank you. Back to you, Madam Emily.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sandra. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about this vice that is deep down into our society, we may stay here forever. But most of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Sandra for whatever she has shared with us is something that we were actually yearning for. We were. Yes, can these people mute so that we can listen, please? And I would like to appreciate the head teachers. Dear UNCCLA, I've seen so many head teachers from Central Region that are a part of this meeting. And I purposed that they could get first-hand information as head teachers, because the vice is into school. And we are very, very glad to have you here. UNCCLA listens, UNCCLA speaks, gives us these sessions every fortnight. So after next week, we shall be having another session, and most probably, because this is the vice that we would all like to fight, we may bring again another session about homosexuality, but in line with effects and any other issues that may be upcoming. Ladies and gentlemen, it's already time. We are 16 minutes into time. Mr. Matega, thank you very much. I know you are far away, but you have been with us in this discussion. And I think I see Father Matthias. Is Father Matthias into this meeting? Father, are you there? Please unmute and say hello. Father Matthias Mulumba.
Madam Emily, I have a message.
Okay, before I get back to Mr. Matega, I would like to thank all our participants and encourage that all of us, it is our duty. Yes, Father is here. He will give us a final blessing, a prayer and a final blessing after Mr. Matega. I would like to bring it to the attention to all of us that it's our noble duty, 1, to be knowledgeable, 2, to fight the vice, and 3, to support the teachings of the Catholic Church. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. Back to you, Mr. Matega.
Thank you very much, Madam Emily, for this moderation. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we are very grateful to Dr. Sandra, who has given us. We are very grateful to Dr. Mwaka, to Dr. Sandra, who has given us this initial talk. You will take note that from the participants, members who are here are not only Catholics. I've seen Muslims, I've seen Anglicans, I've seen equally number of schools, as Emily Mwaka has stated. This is not an issue of the Catholic Church only. It is an issue of our society. It is an issue concerning everyone. Unfortunately, I've seen just a few priests, and we thought that this is a battle we are supposed to battle together. Administrative remarks. Kind regards from our president, Mr. Gervasio Njanabo. He's in Rome, participating in one of the key conferences concerning the laity and the clergy. And this is also one of the issues that is being discussed. Secondly, 2nd March, that's when we are going to have another session of this particular theme. And this time we shall be having witnesses who are helping us to see the tactics of the evil one and how best we can practically tackle this issue. Number 3, as we've said, everyone is part of the battle. It's not a few people, it's not the priests, it's not the religious, it's not the head teachers, it is everyone. Number 4, bring and recommend any young people who are being tormented by this vice to Dr. Sandra. We guarantee you confidentiality. We know how to handle. We have handled several hundreds, and we have evidence that something is changing, much as the vice is quite very big. Number 6, can you invite pro-life to schools? Invite pro-life department to schools, whether your school is a Catholic school or not a Catholic school. Pro-life will do the needful, but preferably not only to address the children, we want also to address the parents, because this is something that comes all the way from home into schools and everywhere. Another one, let us be aware that truly there is a lot of money that has been poured into this project by those who are promoting it. A 5-minute recording is worth 5 million shillings. 5 minutes recording, 5 million shillings. So it's not just a question of how much are we going to give pro-life. We are aware that whoever are funding this thing, they're putting in a lot of money. Please, let us join the battle together. Then finally, schools are not parents. We as parents, can we do our role right from home? We think that the schools are going to be handling everything. Schools are not the parents. They are the second party into this whole equation. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, we can't finalize. We are going to call on Father to give the blessing. But 2nd March, we are expecting more than, I don't know how many people, schools, churches, and everyone. Let us get the real first-hand information of whatever goes on so that we fight the vice. We fight this sin because it is uncultured, it's irreligious, and it's not worth of a human being. Thank you very much. Can Father give us the closing prayer and blessing? Thank you.
Okay. God our Father, we thank you for bringing us together this evening. We are here discussing a matter of natural law and divine law, which combines all of us in our different beliefs and faith denominations. We ask for your blessing to enable us to fight for the natural life that you desired us to have, that you created us in the order to be, so that your creation may be according to your will. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
The Lord
And
be
with
with you.
And with your spirit.
And may the Almighty God bless you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Father. Thank you, Monsignor Larry.
Thank you so much, Father. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandra. Thank you so much, friends.
Thank you too.
Thank you. Thank you.
You promised us our slides.
Thank you, everyone, and goodbye. We meet in the next 2 weeks.